We have video from space of the rotating spherical Earth. The Earth is round. I'm going to show you some CGI. I'm going to show you an 80-foot gorilla. He's going around kidnapping white chicks. Come on, Neil. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. It's the observations that matter. We've learned to trust the observations because pictures are the measure of reality. So it turns out sea level at the equator is farther away from the center of the Earth than sea level from the poles. It has nothing to do with global warming or the ice caps. Because Earth, you know, it spins once a day, yes. So, you know, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it kind of flattened out a little at the middle, at the poles. At the equator. So, therefore, the air is pear-shaped. The Earth. Earth is a pear. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. It's officially an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator. A little chubbier. It's like pear-shaped. So it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level. So now what I'm doing is baffling you with bullshit.
That's a good one. Yeah, the tectonic changes are causing the CGI pictures to become very different as the years go on.
You don't think it's real?
No, that's a good point. Take a look at these images coming from NASA and RASA and JAXA and all these different space agencies, the Chinese, the Japanese. Some of these are even worse than NASA, and you'll notice how clearly fake they are, how obviously Photoshop CGI they are. And
well, why would it be fake?
when you compare them to one another, you'll notice these impossibilities like the water always being different shades of blue every single picture, the size of continents changing from picture to picture, one time North America filling up the entire picture, one time it being just a tiny little speck on the upper part. You'll have on the animations, you'll notice that the clouds almost never move. You'll see a spinning ball Earth with the exact same cloud formations for 24 hours. Take a look at these anomalies, not only on the pictures of the Earth, but on the pictures of the moon, because we've never been to the moon either. NASA's moon landing hoax is all about going far enough away, supposedly, that they could turn around and take a picture of this spinning ball Earth they've been talking about for 450 years and say, hey, we were right, look at that. And the raging debate that had been going on since the late 1800s from Samuel Rowbotham and the other flat earthers then was almost in an instant put to rest by this so-called photographic evidence in an age where most people believed we went to the moon because they heard it on the radio. Nowadays, we have computers, we have Photoshop, we can see these things. You can see anomalies in the original NASA images just by putting them into Photoshop. For instance, you will see many of the images of Earth supposedly taken from the moon have artifacts, rectangular artifacts around the Earth directly embedded in the image, proving that the image of the Earth was actually cut and pasted in a computer program and put there that way. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a rectangular splotch of blackness around the Earth in space. There's also images where you can see the shadow of a ceiling above the rover as it's taking off from the moon, because it's simply being lifted by a crane overhead in a studio. Many of these things, these have all been exposed. This is common knowledge amongst us educated conspiracy folk that you like to ridicule and laugh at and call stupid flat earthers. But this is just a fact.
You know what's interesting about this guy, Neil, is that he knows so much. Hamburger. He knows about NASA, he knows about Coriolis, he knows about Foucault's pendulum, he knows about the seasons, he knows about a lot. Say what?
But they're all fake images. There is no actual image of a ball Earth. If you Google it, you'll see that they're all composites, CGI, or literally taken through a round window in low Earth orbit. That's how they faked the first ones. Well, I actually admit that they're composite. Composite's their word, not mine, for their fake pictures. They say that there's satellites out there taking satellite images, and these satellite images, they receive ribbons of imagery, they call them, and then they have to extrapolate the ribbons of imagery out in Photoshop, and they admit it. So they can't apparently just take a photo or take some video out there from their satellites. The technology they use, they claim, can only make a picture for us if they composite it and edit it in Photoshop. So
really?
They've got a Wow. In one of my videos I've got a NASA guy talking about it, just admitting it straight out. He's like, yeah, well, they are photoshopped, but they have to be.
You have no choice. You have to take naked strips of data. Yeah. He knows. It's impressive that this guy has done this much research, but then still has this ridiculous idea that, and he's using all this data that's actually factual about how many different people found how many different things, and he's decided this is proof, confirmation. What's odd is there are people who believe the Earth is flat, but they recognize that the moon is round. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn are all around, and the Sun and Uranus and Neptune, but the Earth is flat. Something doesn't square, right?
We're a plane, not a planet. So all they did was add a T to the end and everybody bought it. But in reality, Earth is the only physical plane, and everything above us is just a light. So there is no spherical terra firma ball planets like Mars, Jupiter, and all these things that NASA presents us with. You know, the moon landing was fake, and it's done here on Earth. The Mars footage is fake, and then done here on Earth. All the CGI images you've ever seen of all these planets, you'll notice that there is no actual footage. Type in real planet footage or something along those lines in YouTube, and you'll not find a single real video of a planet. And when you look at planets through amateur telescopes, they just look like flat, circular disks of light, just like stars. And in fact, for thousands of years, they were called stars. They're called the wandering stars, as they differ from the fixed stars in their relative motions only. The fixed stars stay completely fixed together in their constellations day after day, year after year, millennia after millennia, which is another proof that we're not on a spinning ball going all around the galaxy like they tell us, because Polaris, the North Pole star, stays exactly where it is, right above us, and all the other stars rotate in a dome-like planetarium shape eastward in a 24-hour cycle all around us.
No, Neil, no, please, don't pull that up. Jamie, don't pull that up. Neil, that's a fisheye lens. No, Jamie!
Since on the Red Bull dives that Felix Baumgartner did that everybody has seen, if you notice, the outside cameras are clearly wide-angle lens, and then there's an inside cockpit camera that isn't. And as you're watching it from the outside cameras, you'll notice that the supposed curvature of the ball Earth starts really early on, just as he's lifting off. And the exact same curvature stays exactly the same all the way up to the point where he's going to jump. So the curve is the same, but his altitude has risen by many, many miles. The reason the curve is the same, of course, is because it's a wide-angle lens effect. It's not actually the curve of the horizon. It just seems that way.
Right.
And that's proven by the inside camera, which, as the door opens, you can see the horizon out that inside camera. It has risen to the eye of the camera. As I said, on a ball Earth, you wouldn't open that camera and have the horizon right at eye level in front of you, no matter how big the ball was. That effect can only happen on a flat plane. And you can see in that dive shot that the inside camera, the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside, and you got a huge curve.
Is there a photo of this flat Earth?
But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected and it's completely flat. And others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave, but whenever it's still, it will level off at completely level. And you can see that the convex and concave the images are just a lens effect. It's obviously not the horizon shifting every 2 seconds as the camera jumps.
Yeah.
And when it's still, you can see all the way up, totally flat.
That's not true. There is a photo of round Earth from space. There's many. If you were sitting next to somebody who said your sensei couldn't compete because they were too deadly, wouldn't that piss you off because you're a martial arts expert? That's just like you with no science background whatsoever. You know, why indulge this crazy idea, Eric? Why would you indulge in dangerous thinking? Why do you always go towards the conspiracy? You know, it's not the same people anyway from the moon landings. Just stop, Eric, please. Just stop and think. You're communicating something to millions of people, and you're communicating something that doesn't make sense. You don't know anything about imagery. You don't know anything about anything. Come on, you're just looking at it with the naked eye. You know, you're coming at it with a confirmation bias. Like, you have this direct inclination to always go towards a conspiracy when it's a disservice towards humanity. I'm not getting angry. No, I'm not getting angry. I'm not raising my voice. Okay, I'm not. I'm just trying to corral your dangerous thinking. You are very influential. I don't think you're thinking correctly. In my latest book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, I swear we didn't plan that book. Oh, that was a plug. Bestseller, New York Times, Freemasonic pushed. I swear we didn't plant the book. I have an entire chapter titled On Being Round, and it's an explanation on how the laws of physics and the explanation of energy and as the processes have unfolded in the laws of the universe, it all favors the sphere. And if something is not a sphere, you can ask what flattened it. Oh, it's rotating real fast. So then it gets a little flattened because of that. So almost everything in the universe is either spheres or slight distortions of a sphere. Like my balls, they are almost spherical.